of the 4 C's of leverage for your therapy practice. Here's the incredible reality. There are so many ways to achieve growth and leverage when you approach these opportunities. And I think that collaboration with other people is the one that kind of seals all of this, because you need some level of peer-to-peer and related interaction with team members and partners and vendors, and on the list goes. You need to utilize people at every step of business growth, and typically to leverage any of the previous C's of leverage that we went through for code and capital, and lastly, collaboration. So
Code,
we're going to dive
capital,
in,
content.
and we're going to talk about a couple of those layers for success for your therapy practice today.
Wow, collaboration, guys. People is power. People equals power. Why is that? I think we know like two brains is better than one. I think we know like if someone else is doing something, you can do something else. And people multiply and magnify your inputs into many outputs. And especially if you have maybe like a good grasp on the revenue per head at your organization, collaboration is just a shoe-in way to grow exponentially or at the rate or level that you are able to collaborate with. Because people multiply so well, there's a lot of different angles that we can kind of approach working with people. And I think that's what we're going to kind of go through today is just like there's a lot of angles you can take. And so let's find some angles, right? Let's find some angles. I think the first place that we have to go is you
Yeah.
as a leader and how you are
When you're a
collaborating
business owner,
through
your
your
leadership is
leadership.
on full
Josh, you
display
want to break that down?
all the time in a number of like cascading areas. You think about your leadership towards your staff, your leadership towards your vendors, your leadership affects your clients, it affects your community, and on the list goes for all these different layers. And when you think about you as the leader, what you do or don't do dictates the relationships that you are going to have. If your staff is not led well, managed well, they will not collaborate with each other, they will not collaborate with you, and they will not collaborate with your community in the ways that you want and need, and with your clients. Some of it will happen naturally, but I kind of always say is what does not happen naturally must happen unnaturally, and that is typically a leader who has learned leadership skills to build the things and to build the relationships that are needed. So there are a couple quick tips on great ways to become a better leader and leading into collaboration. Number one is practice going first. Practice going first. And this has served me exponentially, because when you think about, oh man, who should take the first step? Who should bear responsibility for this action? Who should swallow their pride and say, maybe I should make this a little bit more clear? Who should knock on the door and say, hey, do you want to meet up for coffee? Who should reach out to that big brand that you're scared of? They're never going to reach out to you. Who should contact your community event? Who should launch a conference in your area and bring other providers together? It should be you. Practice going first looks like both you taking the initiative out of boldness and confidence as a leader, but it also looks like humility in terms of, be the one that messages the person for coffee. Be okay messaging 2 times in a row for coffee. Like, don't get insecure just because they didn't, reciprocate, whatever it looks like. Leadership is born out of you practicing going first. This looks like vulnerability with your staff. This looks like being the one to be willing to solve hard problems with your vendors. This looks like all of these layers working together.
Yeah, I think when you go first, it also allows you to have greater context on problems, on solutions, or otherwise, because there is a day when you will hire people who are smarter than you, and maybe their responsibility will be to go first in some categories. But without your maybe previous knowledge or a little bit of context, sometimes they could be going first in the wrong direction. And you will need to be able to collaborate and communicate with those individuals to be able to explain your concerns and maybe negotiate and find actually the true best path with the context that you've developed. And so practice going first. We also need to think about doing the hard work. I like to say that obstacles will remain obstacles until you've found out how to overcome them. And so if you consistently have a problem in your, we see this just so much at Therapy Flow, but if you consistently have a problem in your intake process where you have a lot of attention from your marketing, but as soon as people reach out, maybe no one's following through. That is an intake problem. And it doesn't matter how many times you change your marketing. It doesn't matter how many times you hire a new therapist or you do things that just have nothing to do with the intake process. If you buckle up and just handle the intake process, you will learn to overcome intake obstacles. And then when you have an intake obstacle in the future, you'll learn how to handle and overcome that obstacle. And so you will need to learn how to do the hard work. You need to become a master on solving problems for your system that you're in. The system or the game that you're playing is private practice. And so if you don't know how to play the game of private practice, you're going to be stuck forever, and that's a bad way to lead. And I think that leads perfectly into being clear. If you cannot communicate effectively or you are not clear about your goals, objectives, values that your practice should behave or operate through, it's going to be a blinding fog for everyone behind you. So if you're just a little bit hazy, no one else is going to know exactly what to do, and you're never going to have the result that you want. And I think when it comes to being clear, a really big helpful point is to set standard operating procedures, set standard trainings, and set things in place that we've talked about in the content section that may be helpful or useful
Yeah,
for your
100%.
collaboration efforts.
This
So some
leads
of the
us to
stuff is going hand in the
practical
intake, right?
collaboration. What are some ways beyond, being a great leader, pushing in, doing the hard work, where you can actually generate leverage for practice growth from? And the first one, and we've talked about it before, but it bears mentioning, and that's buying back your time with therapists, admins, vendors who will do the work as you scale your practice. There's a little like buy back your time. It's kind of a 4-to-1 ratio. So for easy math, essentially, if you make $100 an hour, you can probably afford to buy back your time at about $20 to $25 an hour. So someone else will do that work. If the work can be done, I should say, for $20 to $25 an hour, it will always be worth you buying back your time for that person to do the $20 an hour work or less. So that way you can do more $100 an hour work. The key principle to buying back your time is not for freedom for away from your business. The buy back your time principle is actually primarily about leveraging your current time inside of your business for higher value activities, for things only you can do or want to do. And so buy back your time by collaborating with great team members and vendors is a huge way to move everything forward first.
Yeah. As you're looking at some other practical collaboration elements, we have to talk about partnerships. Partnerships are just a great exponential unlock. So just like you as a leader can talk to one person and talk to 5 people and talk to 100 people all at once for the same amount of time, partnerships kind of work similarly. If you have one person who is a referral partner for you, you have one EAP that is leaning in your favor and granting you referrals. You can do those same types of actions. Build the second EAP or get the second referral partner on board. Get the 10th referral partner on board and continue to grow and nurture those processes. And they scale, right? They scale. These things are not one to one. You can talk to your 10 referral partners at the same time, and oftentimes that is a massive scalar event for your practice. So some cool things also that you can do inside of partnerships would be things like maybe building a course with a peer, so like collaborating like that, buying, it's like collaborating on their list, right? Your list, their list. Buy a building with another healthcare provider, hosting community healing conferences, finding sponsors for those types of events, co-creating content with your clinicians or other partners, hosting a podcast and bringing on different guests, so more like list sharing, list type work, having a nonprofit and maybe like build something there, or even doing things where You're just creating new events for recruiting or otherwise. So really the idea here is just like sharing, partnering, grouping with people in line or adjacent to your service sets so that you guys can kind of all work together. It's seen everywhere in business. Typically like who has to deal with people ahead of when they're about to work with me, who has to work with people behind where they're working with me, who works with people adjacent. So like, hey, maybe we don't do addiction here, but maybe it's worth us connecting with someone who does addiction services. And so that way there can be some kind of cross communication, cross pollination there. So partnerships, partnerships, partnerships.
100%. And the last one I'm calling
They pay you back.
client
They will pay you back.
brand building. Client brand building. What does that even mean? At the end of the day, your clients are the ones who refer you. They're the ones that review you. They're the one that pay you money, and they might even be the one that kills your reputation if you're not careful. And within all of this, you have to figure out how to collaborate with your clients in a number of ways to run a successful business. The first form of collaboration you're already doing, which is the exchange for direct therapy services for money. But there's a lot of other ways that this plays out to ethically showcase client results, ethically secure testimonials, ethically tell client stories, ethically do a lot of different places. And so, a couple ideas to kind of spark out of this is one, do you have any client stories, even de identified client stories on your website? Do you ethically ever collect like macro data trends inside of your practice, even things like how many total clients you serve? Do you ever do little mini research studies in your practice? I know that there's a lot of clinical care implications to the things I'm saying, but there's ways that some of the great practices we've worked with that have armed macro data that's happening with their providers, their trends, stories, and represent that public facing. There's ways to invest in clinician marketing assets that help you collaborate better with your clients. We're talking the videos you create, the headshots you get, the copywriting of your clinicians to collaborate and speak to your clients better. There is featuring the community partners that you work with so clients can find them and they can find you from those. These are all in the nodule of client brand building and client collaboration and collaborative care in those pieces. And so you can't just wait for this to happen by accident. I think sometimes it feels like the tamp is put out because of HIPAA compliance, which is very important to adhere to. But there's ways to creatively tell stories, showcase the results that you get for clients, showcase the authority you have in the space with your providers and your partners and other things. And all of that is kind of on the back of the results you get for your clinician with your clinicians and with the clients that receive care. So practices who really represent this well and build a brand for their clients to consume and collaborate with win and will continue to win in the coming years.
You guys want to make it easy for people to work with you. And I think the businesses that last are built on relationships. And although collaboration is maybe the first thing you think of when you think of leverage and scale in a private practice, we save the best for last, maybe. It's also probably one of the strongest or deepest points when it comes to just building something that is actually much larger than you, much larger than your needs. And it's quite the call, I think,
If
when
you're in
you
growth
do
mode for
tap
your
into
practice, you can't
collaboration at a high
outsource
level.
relationships and people collaboration. You have to lead it. You have to lead it. We'll see you guys next time.